What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Joey here from the So Wizard podcast, back at you once again with some more comic reviews. Before we get started, of course, make sure you hit the like, you hit the subscribe, and you hit the bell so you're always getting notifications when more So Wizard content is coming at you. And like I said, I am a lapsed comic fan. Probably have not consistently bought books in years, probably close to 10 years at this point. I always lose track of time as you get older, you do, but it's been a long time. So I've been trying to hit up our local comic shop, our beloved Comics apostrophe more in Easthampton, Massachusetts, grabbing some books off the shelf from the new releases, seeing what catches my eye and buying it with my own money and reviewing it for you. I want to make sure I'm always buying these with my own money so it's not comped copies. So you're getting a pure, honest review from someone who spent their own money buying these books. Sometimes that can make a difference, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. So let's see what we got this week. Here's our first book. I'm going to reach over and get it. This is wonderful for YouTube. Look at that. And once again, I have to make sure I'm not putting it in the wrong part of the screen. We're getting there, folks. Flashpoint Beyond #0 from DC Comics. We've got Jeff Johns, one of the architects of the DC universe, of course, and we've got art by Eduardo Risso. Flashpoint was a event years ago. Man, I don't even want to say how many years ago it was because I have no idea, and I'm going to age myself by saying it, but I definitely remember it. And we got a Thomas Wayne Batman who was kind of a jerk, shenanigans with time travel and the Flash. It all was set right at the end, and it was a wonderful event that's been covered in other media and all sorts of stuff. This is the sequel to that, Flashpoint Beyond #0 from DC Comics. Right off the bat, $5.99 cover price. $5.99 is a $6 comic. Back in the day, when I started reading, $6 would buy me 7 books. So I'm old. I'm old, but I'm trying. I'm trying not to let that always color my opinion of the things. But it's a big ask when you're dropping $6 on the counter for one comic. Cardstock cover, so that's pretty good. Pages, good quality cover art, good quality pages. So that part's cool. So it's not embarrassing like some of the Marvel books we've looked at. And yeah, man, I mean, the art's okay. The art's okay. It's a little dark, Mike Mignola styled art in this. And I think that kind of fits the storyline. Basically, something's wrong. Batman, Thomas Wayne Batman, is got something going on. He's trying to do something, and it involves trying to restart the Flashpoint universe because it's just not right. Things are not going well for him in this. And, hijinks ensue. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Hijinks ensue. This Batman is allegedly some kind of a jerk. He does kill people. You get your exciting. This is always the exciting thing for people is, Batman is looking at this billboard. It's a blackboard, that he's been writing on his notes. And they're all things like 5G averted, fall of Justice League, like this little Easter egg things in there. But at the end of the day, this is a $6 comic that I bought. And despite the fact the art's okay, and I'm a huge Jeff Johns guy, I love Jeff Johns. I met him at Wizard World a million years ago. God, it was right when JSA was just starting to pick up. So it was probably like 2003. Then he didn't have a huge line. He was just at the DC booth there on the floor. He didn't have a big line. I got a couple JSA books signed by him. And I talked to him for a while about Suicide Squad and different books and comics we liked. He was a really cool dude. And it was just interesting that I think a few years later, he was like a superstar that you would have to like wait in a huge line for. And me and my friend Derek just got to shoot the shit with him for like 15 minutes. But we were both commiserating over being huge Ostrander Suicide Squad fans, which later on he used Suicide Squad a lot. So that was a cool feeling to know this guy was really cool. So I've always been a fan of his. Then, of course, his work backs it up. I've liked a lot of the things he's written and done. That JSA run is perfection. I love it. And, he had some really good runs on different books. So his Green Lantern stuff was great too. no matter how you feel about, all these different Lantern Corps and all that stuff. But man, there's some classics in there. The Sinestro War, that's really good too. So, big Jeff Johns guy. Unfortunately, not a big fan of this. I hate to be Debbie Downer on these all the time and be shitting all over the books, but and I hate to always bring it back to price, but this was $6. It feels like the prologue. It is the Flashpoint Beyond prologue. It's number 0. It's the first one that's supposed to hook you in. I would have given up the cardstock cover if it was $4.99. I could have given up maybe the page quality and make it $3.99. This feels like it should be like a giveaway. This should be a free comic book day thing. It's there's nothing there. It's just it's basically the prologue. It feels like it should be the prologue of the first issue of Flashpoint Beyond. There just not much happens, and it's a lot of continuity gobbledygook, which as a lapsed reader is very hard to jump into. Just like I refuse to pick up Wikipedia and search everything. Just the blurb should be enough, or whatever they want to include. I'm going to flip a little bit. But, this explains to you a little bit what Flashpoint was. That should be enough for me to enjoy this comic book. And it's just really not. I don't really understand what's happening in it. And it's just not an interesting book. Nothing really happens. And all the things that do happen just feel like it's setting up something else later down the line. So while Flashpoint Beyond may end up being a great event, maybe the trade is going to be awesome. Maybe when you have all the issues and this sitting in a pile in front of you and you sit down and bang them out, it'll be awesome. And you're like, wow, Jeff Johns, you still got it. For a $6 comic that I bought going in cold, this just felt like it just feels like an advertisement for another book. And that's not something I want to read. And especially don't want to read it at that price. So for me, Flashpoint Beyond 0, 2 out of 5. Just, nothing egregious, nothing offensive, nothing terrible. Just, just not much there, man. Just not much there. We're going to throw it off to the side. We're going to pick up our next book. And that, my friends, is from Marvel. Thing number 5. The Thing number 5. So I was always a big fan of The Thing. I loved him in Marvel 2-in-1. Obviously, everyone loves him from Fantastic Four. But I was a big Marvel 2-in-1 guy when I was a kid. Those were a dime a dozen in the 4 for $1 bins at the store. So I'd always be grabbing those. They were a quick, easy, fun read with lots of weird characters in The Thing. I loved his single solo book that spun out of Secret Wars. I loved it when John Byrne was doing it to start. I even loved it later on when it spun off into goofy stuff, like he joined a motorcycle stunt team and he was in the Unlimited Class Wrestling Federation. I still loved all that goofy stuff too. That was a fun book. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it didn't last forever, but and he's a cool character. You can definitely do some stuff with. So, this is number 5. We're jumping in at number 5. It's written by Walter Mosley, who apparently, I did not know this until I did some research beforehand, is a hugely popular novelist. So it's cool to see somebody coming from outside who's a fan writing a comic. God bless him. He gets the chance to do it. Apparently a really big deal in the world of novels and fiction writing. Tom Riley art takes place kind of back in continuity. So I guess right after The Thing broke up with Alicia Masters, he's dating someone else. Her son and him are on a wacky adventure, something to do with the champion of the universe. You do get a full page that explains to you what you missed. So that part's cool. I don't think we really need a ton explaining who The Thing is, but they do give you a tiny blurb on that. And then you give a little bit of background of what you missed in the book. So there's 2 levels to this book. And reviewing it is a little tough. So this really feels written for the trade. I'm sure if I had issues 1 through 4 laid out in front of me or a full trade of this storyline, this would be great. Just as a single comic, it's not wonderful. So that's a tough one to say. So reviewing it the way I'm reviewing these as somebody buying a single comic off the shelf, it's not great. there's a lot of potential here. What's happening seems interesting, but it feels like watching like the middle 15 minutes of an episode of a TV series in not knowing anything going on the rest of the season. If you're like, wow, I love Game of Thrones, and then you just threw on and watched 25 minutes of it in the middle of a random episode, I mean, you might enjoy what you see and it might look cool, but you have no idea what's happening. And you're missing a lot of context for stuff. So this really does feel written for the trade. Not the biggest fan of the art. And that's just on me. There's nothing wrong with the art. It's just I'm expecting when I pick up this book with the Thing and he's fighting, and then the description in the first page kind of sets up that he's going to be fighting the Terax, the Tamer, the Berserker, and the Faceless One. I'm expecting big widescreen art. I'm expecting this huge, like massive battle. And it's not really that. Now, maybe in the context of the storyline, that makes a lot more sense. But it really ends up with, the Thing fights one person, his girlfriend fights Terax, and the little kid fights the Faceless One. And fight isn't really with his little kid. So it's kind of a thing. I don't want to, I don't want to spoil it for you, but so there's two levels to it, not a huge fan of the art, but it's serviceable. Not a huge fan of it as a floppy. So just as a floppy, I'm going to say probably 2.75 out of 5. What I want to say though, so I'm not shitting on this book completely, is that what's happening seems interesting. And the setups for what's happening next issue seems interesting. The blurb about what happened before seems interesting. So if I had all the comics in front of me and was reading it as a storyline, I'd probably like it a lot more. If I had the trade after this all comes out, I might like it a lot more. But just as a floppy for $3.99, I really was expecting more from the promise of a huge throwdown brawl between the Thing and these three characters. So I'm sure in the context of the book and the storyline, this is great. But as a single issue, it really doesn't work. It reminds me a lot of back in the day when like Bendis, especially Bendis, was writing stuff. You grab a random issue and it was like part 7 of 12 and you just like, you can't really grasp it. It wasn't written for you to buy as a floppy. It was written for you to buy as a trade. This really does feel the same way. It's written for you to buy as a trade. I'm sure they're going to put this in bookstores with this guy's name on it because he's a famous novelist, and they're going to sell tons of trades of it. It might be a really cool storyline overall, and maybe they're just selling floppies as a loss leader. As a single issue, it just doesn't work. And that's it. Maybe if I was reading it from the beginning, it might work better. Maybe as a trade, it's going to work great. As a single floppy issue, but blind, it does not work. So 2.75 out of 5. I will say much better cover quality. Not great, but much better, and much better paper quality. So $3.99 from Marvel. They're able to put some decent paper and cover on this one. So maybe they're just trying to hook us Walter Mosley fans. But, why does silk feel like tissue paper from a few weeks ago? I guess we'll never know. But 2.75 out of 5 for The Thing. Number 5. Onto the floor it goes. Our last book, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but a few weeks ago I reviewed World's Finest number 1. I gave it a 5 out of 5. It was the best comic I've read so far, reviewing all these books. And I said, one thing I'm always looking for is, do I want to buy the next issue? And guess what? I did want to buy the next issue. So World's Finest number 2 came out when I was at the store. I grabbed it. And Mark Waid, Dan Moore art. It's still great, man. It's still great. Just checking in on this one. It's still a 5 out of 5. Fantastic. This is the best book right now on the shelves. I'm not joking. And I'm a lapsed Marvel fan, really. DC, not my thing. So for me to tell you this DC book is the best book out there right now is a lot. That's a lot. That's a big compliment from somebody like me that's not a big DC guy. But, we're still checking it out. The Doom Patrol showed up. Superman has been infected by kryptonite. There's all sorts of shenanigans ensuing and high quality, big widescreen action and adventure. And it's not up your butt with continuity. Like, everything you need to know is always explained to you in story. So if, for example, Superman and Batman are fighting somebody, and I'm trying to like not spoil it because I really do want people to buy this and read it. It's a great book, but they will, and that's just kudos to Mark Waid, man. I never thought I'd say a Mark Waid book was amazing. After it's been a long time, I remember the last time I was salivating over something he wrote was probably Flash, when he was doing Flash. And that's nothing against him, but he moved to DC. Did a lot of DC stuff, and I'm just not a huge DC guy. I was checking out his run on Flash, and that was great. I think Irredeemable was really good. So, I mean, obviously the guy is a fucking legend, so he's done some great stuff, but I just feel like I hadn't heard the name for a while. So then, we've got stuff involving Shazam in here. We got the Doom Patrol, other characters. I don't want to ruin some of the people that pop up. But it's all explained easily for you. You don't need to run to the internet or your phone and see who's this, what's happening, who's this person, what are they doing. Batman and Superman pulled right out of your memory. So all you need to know is who Batman and Superman are, and you're hit the ground running, and it's awesome, and the art is fantastic. It's huge widescreen action art. The story's great so far. I'm all in on this. I am 5 out of 5 still on World's Finest. I want more people to buy this book. Everybody should be buying. Every single person should have this in their pull file. It's that good. It's that good. Superman is just Superman in this. It's not the Eradicator. He's not Steel, Superboy. It's not Superman with a mullet. It's not his son. It's not his son aged up. It's just Superman, and he's a cool character, and he's fun in this, and he's smiling and messing around with Batman, and it's what you want to read, man. This is comics. This is exactly what I want from comics. I wish every comic was this good. I'm hoping that at an upcoming con, I can go get a couple issues of this signed and maybe shake these guys' hands and just let them know that this is the best comic on the shelf. 5 out of 5 for World's Finest from DC. Please buy this book. I really don't want to see it get canceled, but maybe it will. You know how comics are these days. Maybe by issue 6, it'll start over at number 1 with a different creative team. I'd love to see Mark Waid and Dan Mora on something else if that's going to happen. I want them to stay on this forever, but if they're going to move to something else, then by all means, please just keep these guys together and keep doing what they're doing, because this is great. This is what I want from every comic I read. And unfortunately, they aren't always like that, as we've seen, but World's Finest, man, 5 out of 5. Awesome stuff. Awesome. So that's it. That's going to do it. Those are my comic reviews for this week. Don't forget to check out the podcast weekly, where you get your podcast. We have tons of movie reviews for you. Don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell for this channel here, so you can get reminded when all our content drops. Of course, tons of more comic reviews coming your way, tons of movie reviews, tons of interviews with creatives, actors, actresses, directors, and comic artists. So please continue to support us. We greatly appreciate it. And that's it, man. I've been Joey, the host of the So Wizard podcast, your boy, and that's our comic reviews for the week. We'll see you next week. What will I buy next week? I don't know, but we're going to find out. Good journey.